All right, let's take a minute and give it up for podcasts. Am I right? No, but seriously, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's literally the easiest way to make podcasts, so let me explain. One, it's free. Two, it literally gives you all the tools you need in order to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, which is amazing. Also, the best part, in my opinion, is that it'll distribute your podcast for you. So you can hear it on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, literally anywhere you listen to podcasts. Pretty amazing, and you literally have to do nothing. The other thing is you can make money from your podcast. There's no like minimum listenership required, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, seriously, if you're like into podcasts and thinking about making one, I would check it out because it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So yeah, go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What are you waiting for?
It's weird that like people are like A24 is so hipster and indie and cool now, because A24 used to be weird fucking shit like that. Like
yeah,
when I saw
A24's
like
oh,
Jesus
beginnings
Christ.
was what Ex
They
Machina.
were weird. That one actually wasn't too bad. I think Swiss
That one's
Army Man was
great.
before that. Yeah, that one
no.
was really good. I was not.
Swiss Army Man was what 2016, 2015. I was
Oh,
working
it
at the
was?
theater then.
Oh wow.
So it was definitely 2016, 2015
Oh
time.
wow. That's weird. Well, yeah, Ex Machina, yeah, it wasn't that bad, but definitely Swiss
Ex
Army Man.
Machina was like early,
Killing of
though.
a Sacred Deer.
Okay, I actually like that one though.
The Lobster.
I like that
those
one
are
too.
Weird, though. No,
Neon
I'm not saying they're
Demon.
bad. I'm saying they're weird. I'm not saying they're
Yeah,
bad.
they're really weird.
just
I
really
mean,
weird.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting that they're getting a little bit more mainstream. But the stuff that is like more mainstream is like so good. Like Minari.
Oh, yes,
Bro.
exactly. Yeah, they're like normal and cool and indie and shit now. It's so weird. I'm like, when did that happen? They
do
like,
still make
pulled off
really
that
weird stuff,
rebrand.
because I don't know if you watched X.
I haven't. Well, this
but
one
I
was
watched
A24.
X. X is A24 too, and it just also
How did
just
you
came
see
out.
it?
And it's
Not-
ridiculous.
It's not playing anywhere near me, so I couldn't see it.
Oh.
You saw it in the theater?
Yeah.
You're
That
so
movie was
lucky.
so freaking weird though. I was like, oh,
Oh,
there we go.
you're
There's
so
the
lucky.
A24, remember.
Yeah.
I was kind of craving it a little bit, you know? I was like, I just want that like really weird, like what the fuck is happening kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the one with Jessie Buckley.
I don't know who that is.
It's called Men. Yeah, you do. She played she played the younger version of the woman in The Lost Daughter.
Oh, okay. I don't know that movie though.
Bro, that one's gonna be freaky. It's by the same guys that did Ex Machina.
Ooh, okay. Is this the next one they've made after Ex Machina?
I don't know actually, as I feel like they haven't made anything in like a really long time. But yeah, I don't know. I guess now we can talk about Turning Red, the movie we actually came here to talk about.
Hello and welcome. I'm Victoria,
And I'm Serena.
and together we're Femme Noir.
This podcast is all about women, specifically in film.
We're going to review and analyze movies that are written by, directed by, or starring women. And we can't wait for you to join us.
Tune in wherever you listen to podcasts.
The movie we did watch this week that we're going to talk about is Turning Red, directed by Domi Shi. It is about 13-year-old May, who is experiencing the awkwardness of being a teenager, but with a twist. When she gets too excited, she transforms into a giant red panda. Description courtesy of Letterboxd. Yeah, so I would want to start doing, maybe in future episodes we can just start doing it. I don't know if we'll break it up into seasons. We'll start by talking about what we've watched this week and kind of what's trending, what we've heard, news, and things we've liked, and maybe even things we didn't like.
Yeah.
Then we'll go into talking about the movie, things that worked for it, things that didn't. We can't really do fuck my friend zone with this. That'd be really weird. But we can definitely we'll rate it and then still give you like some recommendations based on the movie. So that's what we will be doing this week. So this movie, Turning Red, I've been excited for such a fucking long time, because this would have been like my dream as a child, to be able to turn into a giant fucking animal.
Dude, I know. Especially Red Panda.
Yeah, I was ready for just like the
They're so
Pixar
cute.
imagination to just like carry me away with it. So I like remember watching the trailer and like following the hype for this movie. Like I was excited as fuck for this movie. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I like heard about it and I kind of like forgot, and then it came out and then everyone was talking about it and I was like, oh yeah, I should watch that. And then I did and I liked it. But I was hesitant at first. Mainly just because I was like, oh great, another person of color as a main character that's just gonna turn into an animal for the whole movie. But then it like didn't happen. She wasn't an animal for the whole movie, and she like controlled when she was an animal and not. And so I was like, and she like controlled like a lot of her like animal self, I guess, like, and how it was like perceived. Like she was the one that was in charge of like, I'm gonna do this so that I can get paid, and like all of that stuff. Like she was the one that made all those choices. So I was like, this is actually a lot better than I was expecting.
I didn't even think about that.
And
I
a lot
forgot
less
that
like
was
offensive.
like. But that is typically, I think, I don't know. Do you feel like there are differences between Disney and Pixar? Because I think that's an issue with specifically Disney movies, like Princess and the Frog, and
Yeah,
what are
Princess
the other
and the
ones?
Frog.
Emperor's New Groove. Soul.
Yeah, Soul.
And like those other ones, yeah, where they kind of just transform for the whole movie. But I don't think Pixar has done that specifically, or not that I am aware of.
Well, Soul was Pixar.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, well, yeah, no one is free from the racism machine.
Nobody is.
Yeah, I won't lie. After watching it, I mean, it was definitely cute and enjoyable, and I fucking stan the boy band. Like,
Oh my
tell me why I
God.
wish the boy band was real. I'm like,
No, okay, you want to know
we're
why?
done.
You want to know why? Because
Why?
the music was done by Billie Eilish and Phineas.
You're lying. The
I'm
song,
not.
the
Yeah,
main
they
song?
did the songs.
Oh, you know
And I was like,
what?
that's
I
why
never heard
that boy
song.
band actually goes so hard. I was like,
They're
it's so
so
good.
cute. Oh, their designs are so cute. I'm like, I already know I would have posters of them up in my room. Yeah, and that song goes hard.
Dude, I was like, why is this so good? It's so stupid. It's so good.
No, I know it's amazing, unironically. But then, honestly, the rest of the movie, I was kind of bummed, and that's why I don't watch trailers. Like, you will just ruin things for yourself if you watch trailers, because you get your hopes all the way up, and then it just doesn't meet it. Because I thought it was gonna be like more of a grand adventure, I guess. But the only thing that they
it was
do,
very
like you
rooted
said,
in reality.
definitely, yeah. They just sell her image at school, and I was like, this is so normal. Like, I totally could have thought of this, and I was thinking it would be something like kind of like large and dramatic, like is kind of characteristic for Pixar movies. And it wasn't. I know that people had that issue with Onward too, even though I actually liked the movie Onward, but
I
people
couldn't
were
watch
like,
Onward. Chris
because
Pratt's
Chris
voice
Pratt was in
bothers
it.
me.
I didn't know who it was. I just watched it because it was out. It was like one of the first things on Disney Plus.
I was like, I
And
don't
I
know
was
why
like,
his
oh, yeah,
voice
I'll watch
is
it for a
so
movie.
annoying to me, and I just
Who,
can't.
Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Really? That's so weird. I didn't even know it was him.
I was like, I don't even care about like him. Like, I don't really follow any news about him or anything. So like, I don't care to. But like, his voice is just like, bleh.
That's crazy. Okay, yeah, I didn't even know. But that one, it's like about like a fantasy world where everyone is just like a creature, like a goblin or like just random shit like that. But it's also pretty much normal. Like they're all like crazy fantasy creatures, but they live in houses in neighborhoods, and they go to school and they drive cars. And people were upset because they're like, how are you going to make a fantasy world and make it pretty much just like
And make
real
it
life?
normal.
And yeah, and give it capitalism and like, you know,
LOL,
that shit
isn't
that they
every
always
fantasy
do.
world just actually a remake of our actual world? Like, I'm sorry, people be talking
Yeah.
about Game of Thrones like it's some new stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not like he didn't make people of color slaves. Like, that's real life, okay? Like, I don't need a
Yeah, I've
fantasy
never
world.
seen Game of Thrones.
I don't need a fantasy world in which women and people of color are freaking oppressed. That happens in real life. I don't want a fantasy world about it. Like, have a better imagination.
Wait, did you watch Game of Thrones?
I did. I watched up to season
No
3.
way. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I've never seen it, ever.
And then I stopped watching it, and I could never get back into it.
I will say I was shocked watching Lord of the Rings. I was like, oh, there's a lot of white people in this.
Dude,
like,
yeah, I was like
shocked.
Lord of the Rings, like,
yeah, I was
sure, it's
shooken.
like a fantasy land, but like, is it really?
Yeah.
No, it's very much just like a metaphor for real life. Same with like almost everything that's made ever. So like,
Yeah, well, yeah. It's unfortunate though because Game of Thrones I actually don't know a whole lot about. Lord of the Rings, I know that it's old, so it's like you can kind of be like, it's old. Pixar has no excuse doing that in the year of our Lord 2020. Like, what the fuck, like, bitch, no excuse.
Yeah, it's just like, bro.
So
like,
yeah,
I've never liked
bummed.
that. Like, even in like WALL-E, I was like, you're like gonna have this post-apocalyptic world, but they're like, this is like the point though, and I was like, yeah, I don't really care to watch people eat space food just like we eat food like normal.
I don't remember WALL-E that much, if I'm being honest.
I don't know why, but I feel like
ago.
I had to watch WALL-E so many times
Often.
as like a child. Like, I don't know
They
why, it was just like
played it on
always
Disney Channel.
on.
It probably
Well, I
was,
didn't have
yeah,
Disney
I
Channel
believe
because
that.
at that point I was living in
Really?
Japan.
They don't
And
have Disney
I
Channel?
think someone just owned it on DVD or something, and they just like always had it on. Like, I cannot watch that movie now.
I don't. Yeah,
Like,
I have never
makes me
watched it
sick.
again. Damn. Okay, that's the official review right there. Makes me fucking sick.
It makes me sick. One movie that probably actually sucks that I don't actually remember that much of, but I thought was really interesting that theoretically is Disney, but it's live action, was that fucking John Carter movie where they're like on Mars. I was like, that's such an interesting like premise. I really don't really know what it is, but there was like the whole world and it was so like crazy. And it just seemed so interesting. I don't know. I like this movie played on a cruise ship that we were on for my aunt's wedding. But like everyone was seasick because we got caught in a storm. But this movie played on repeat the entire time. So I don't really remember like the movie or anything about it. Just that I was like really interested in the fact that I was like, that's kind of cool. It's like space, but also fantasy world and like all that at the same time. And I was like, we need some more of that. I'm very interested.
Wow.
I'm down for that.
I have no idea what that movie is. I am so sorry.
It's on Disney Plus. Maybe I'll try to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a Disney file. Turning Red has been my first Disney watch since Onward, and then before that, I have no idea what the last movie was that I watched.
Did you
but
watch
I think
Luca?
No.
That one apparently is really good.
Oh, you haven't seen it either?
I haven't.
Amazing. Yeah.
But that one also was like
my mom saw it.
Huh? It's like the two boys in Italy, but like I don't know. They turn into fish.
One is a mermaid, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're both.
I thought they were both mermaids, but I'm not sure. One of them definitely is found out to be a mermaid, and it causes like a whole thing.
There's a girl I know with red hair. I've seen
yeah.
videos. Yeah, she's cute.
But apparently that one was like really good.
I know Kiana watched it without me, but I think because I'm always like bashing Disney, Kiana was probably like, Vic does not want to see this shit. But Kiana's review was, oh, it's really good, you should watch it. But I have no idea if it's good. Oh, I watched Encanto. I lied. Encanto is Disney, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Or Pixar. Disney. Yes, I watched Encanto.
I did like Encanto.
It was okay. Yeah, I would not watch it again. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't actually think that it was as good as a lot of people remember it to be. Like, people are like, this movie's amazing. And I was like, it's actually, like, not. I was like, dude, Raya and the Last Dragon was, like, way better plot-wise. Just, it actually made sense. But there were just so many plot holes in Encanto.
I've seen that one, too. No, there is. You're so right.
And I was like,
yeah.
what? You're just never going to talk about this ever again? I was like, so you guys all got your powers taken away. And then the movie just ends. I was like, are we going to, like, resolve this at all? Like, y'all should be facing major trauma from this.
No, they get the powers back at the end.
They do?
In Encanto?
All I remember was just, like, the house being magical.
They get them back, like, in the last song.
Wow.
I know, but it's just shown. Like, you could probably not. I don't know.
And then, like, the town just helps them rebuild, and I was like, okay. Like, I get it. I get the point, but, like, okay.
I was upset because I'm like, isn't the whole point that they need value outside of their powers, and then they just get the powers
exactly
back?
I was like,
so you didn't learn any lessons, or it was all for nothing. This whole movie didn't happen, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I did like Bruno's character; he was fun, but like,
the designs were cool.
I liked that like they had like so much diversity in like skin tone and hair textures and everything. Like that part I do agree with people on is like absolutely amazing. We totally need more of that. And like body types, I was like, that's awesome. I just didn't think the actual like plot of the movie was that good.
I totally 100% agree. Yes, thank you. I totally agree. Yep.
So I was like, I'm not gonna lie, Raya and the Last Dragon, I freaking love that one.
Oh, I already don't.
I was like, that plot went hard. Yeah, I feel like that one kind of got like snubbed because it came out like in the pandemic and like nobody kind of remembers anything that happened in that time. But like that movie's good.
Oh wait, no, that was only last year, right? Or was that 2 years ago? That was last year.
I don't know. Maybe if it was last year, it was like really early in the year. I can't remember.
It was. That's so crazy. I don't even remember. It's only been a year. Okay, so I've seen more Disney than I thought. Even though there's been more than I've seen, I've seen a lot more than I thought. Never mind. I forgot I saw those. Okay, yeah, but there were good moments to this movie. I really liked... I was having feelings during that scene where she's in the realm, like the spirit
with
realm,
her mom.
With her mom.
Bro.
When she's like holding her mom's hand and guiding her, I almost had a fucking breakdown. I was like, this is a little too real.
I was like,
it was so emotional. Like, yeah. Their relationship was really, like, even though she's really young, you can tell that, like, their relationship is, like, you know, not that of, like, I feel like that's where maybe there's a disconnect because a lot of people don't have that, because how old is she? She's like in middle school 12. Or elementary school?
13.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't remember being a 13-year-old and they're, like, coming of age, you know? Like yeah. It's like the responsibility that she has, and especially that relationship with her mom is a really mature, very deep, very like, you know, she's responsible for a lot of things. She's carrying a lot of weight and a lot of burdens, and I think maybe there's a lot of disconnect because people don't relate to that, having that intense of a relationship with their family at that age. But I think that's something I was like, dude, that's a little intense and real. Like it was definitely like they didn't have to say it, like in that visual where she's, you know, walking through the spirit realm with her. I was like, shit, that is crazy. Like her having to like step up and take charge and be there for her mom. That was insane. Yeah. And she has to teach her mom the lesson. Yeah. That was a little I was like, yep. Yeah. I was like, I remember that
there it
moment
is.
in my life. Exactly. Like, wow, I totally forgot I remembered that, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, that I can relate. Yeah. It's really, really crazy. So that was something really cool that I did like. Yeah. Especially in comparison. Maybe that wouldn't have stood out as much if the whole movie was really serious. As much as I'm like, it was kind of lame, if the whole movie had been like that, it wouldn't have stuck out as much. But because the whole movie was kind of lighthearted and kind of more comedy, that moment like sticks in my mind a lot more. Yeah. Because of its like weight. Yeah.
The comedy was pretty funny.
It was cute, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was dying when she like starts drawing the pictures of like her and like some imaginary dude and of like like holding her and kissing her.
Oh my god, the guy at the store.
And then her mom finds it, and I was like, yo, she's really gonna do that, isn't she? And I was like, shoo, she showed him the drawings. No.
Oh my
I
god.
was like, that sucks. That really sucks. I felt embarrassed.
Can you relate?
For her. I was like, frick. Like, I never did that, but dang, man. That's harsh.
It's so funny because you wanted to bring up that one Variety
No,
article.
I was asexual, and very much so, to the point where like that didn't happen, so I had to like pretend that I liked a dude, because everyone was like, you haven't been embarrassed by like your parents for saying something that like you liked person. I was like, is that normal? And so then I had to like tell my parents that I liked someone, which was a lie. I didn't like them, so that it would now be this like fun little secret that we all have. And I was like, okay. So like, I'm gonna tell him, and I was like, oh no, please don't. Like,
okay, why do you have like similar experiences to mine? Because I would make up that I liked boys, but I would forget. They'd be like, "Oh, don't you like him?" And I was like, "Oh shit, you're."
Yeah, no, oh my god, I would do that. And then like, I remember my thought of them like finding out that I quote unquote liked them wasn't actually the fact that like they would feel weird about me liking them, but that they might actually like me back, and then I would have to deal with that. I was like, no,
literally.
they can't find out because I absolutely don't actually like them. But if they find out, they're going to think that I actually do like them. And now, how are they going to believe me? They're going to think I'm lying. Everyone else thinks I'm lying.
Oh my god, when is there going to be a movie about that situation?
We're just going to have to make it, I guess.
We are.
It's asexual representation, yo. Asexual
That
and like
is so
queer
funny.
representation.
I know. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of overlap.
Pretending to like someone.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's so funny. I still laugh about it. But yeah, I was like, I can relate because like I had that experience instead of the one that she had, where she was like, oh my god, no, this guy's gonna I'm embarrassed. And I was like, that sucks. I'm so sorry.
That was shockingly a really common experience. I was seeing people on Twitter I was like, y'all are a little too comfortable sharing like how many times you like drew yourself kissing your crush.
Bro, I was like, y'all
your
did
mom
that?
found it. And
Dude.
I like literally people were defending this movie like it is relatable. I used to do that all the time. And I was like, you know what? Y'all didn't have to say that. Like I think you could have just kept that
That's true. Everyone was
yourself?
like trying to defend it because that one dude was like, it's not relatable. And we're like, bro.
I'm like, there's other ways
Maybe,
it could be
like,
relatable.
shut
You
up.
didn't have to like
I can't believe that it was like that's such a normalized like film critic like site and like publication, and he's like in an executive position, and he was like, I don't know, it's just like really niche and like unrelatable. And we're like, how is it unrelatable to be a child? Like, we were all children. We're like, the fact that you're like white male heterosexual like cis mindset is so catered
Go
to
off.
the fact that like there's a movie about like one person that isn't you, like it's unrelatable. I'm sorry, we've had to relate with everything that you've ever made, so I'm just gonna start writing about how white movies aren't relatable.
I'm giving them 1 star.
1 star.
Yeah, honestly, like it's just unfortunate because like we even make a disclaimer like just because we don't get a movie or we don't understand it doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist. Like
Yeah.
there's definitely value in a lot of movies that people don't it's maybe not like on the surface. There is okay, you know what? Oh, I don't think I bookmarked it. Dang it. I can't even remember the logistics of it. There was someone that I was following that talked about like a movie that came out. I think it was like a really old Guillermo del Toro movie, and someone who worked on it, oh, let me just try and find it. It was basically like somebody saw the movie and it inspired them to make music, and that somebody was like a guy in the band Muse or something. Like it's like the
That's
tiniest,
crazy.
like most niche sort of movie like can mean something incredibly to somebody.
Yeah, like it can mean so much. And I was like, obviously, like we make the disclaimer that these are like our opinions, but I feel like that's even like a bigger conversation that we kind of talk around but not exactly address it really, with like when we're talking about like the Oscars and like, oh yeah, critics said this one was like amazing, because if you actually address it, most critics are white men. Which is why like some movies don't get acclaim when like the general audience is like, yeah, I really like that movie, I really agreed with like how they represented this and represented that, and then like a white man watch and be like, unrelatable, I don't like it, and then his word is like the final say of whether or not it's a good movie or not. And so like, in order, like I do like that a lot of people watching movies as like even just a general audience without like cinema filmmaking stylistic like history and knowledge like can actually have a voice and be like, what do you mean it's unrelatable? Were you never a kid? I experienced that same thing as a kid, kind of a thing, like on Twitter and like Instagram, like big enough so that it actually gets like, you know, like it gets talked about. But yeah, it really is like one of those things where it's like there needs to be a lot more diversity in film criticism, just as much as we need it in like behind the scene film and on-screen representation, because if there aren't people to actually review those movies, then they're just gonna get like the white gaze, which is gonna be overall harmful to those movies and those representations, which is why we have the problem that we have in film.
Like, it's really easy for people to watch a movie and to have your first opinion be like, oh, it was good, or oh, it was bad, based on your own experiences. But we kind of do need, like, a subset of people who can quantify why it's good, so that there is sort of, like, a, you know, there's
validity,
like, language being passed around. Like, describing its value, you know, because then it could have some, for people that maybe don't have friends that watch a lot of movies, or for people who don't have access to, you know, like those sort of like resources, they just read in the paper or they read on Variety or wherever, they can see that, you know, oh, you know what, that does make sense, and maybe I'll rethink the way that I think, and etc. So that, I think that definitely is just as important as having the movie exist. It's like you need to kind of have people, you know, that are able to discourse about why it is that it's good, because
like what is it that you're picking up on that actually makes it good, like cinematically and critically, even in a way, like more than just like, oh, I enjoyed it or I related to it. Like there's a lot more into why you actually liked it. And we're here to help you. I'm just kidding.
Honestly,
no, but like honestly, that is kind of why we started this podcast.
Just to kind of like put some language out there and say like, okay, this is why we liked it, this is why we didn't, and just have people thinking, because it's a constant process. Like there's definitely movies that I hate on first watch, and 3 years later I come back to it and I'm like, this is amazing. Like what was I thinking? It's because it's a constant state of flux. It's not like you have
we're
to
constantly
commit
learning
to one
and
opinion
growing
forever,
and your mindset changes.
Absolutely.
Especially when like you're growing up in such a male-centric, like heteronormative world, and you're like conditioned to think certain ways, and then being in the process of learning it, you rewatch stuff from years ago and you're like, this is so different now, like that I have a different like perspective. And it's kind of crazy.
Honestly, there was a movie I think recently I watched, and I remember being like, when I watched this as a kid, I didn't get it, but now that I'm an adult, it makes so much sense. I can't remember what it was that I watched. It's like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that kind of stuff does happen all the time. So, and that's a general, like, example, but there's stuff that it's like it could help on, like examining, like, racial differences and gender differences and more complicated things.
Like, I think me and a friend were talking about the Hunger Games and how we watched it during the like lockdown part, the US lockdown of pandemic.
Oh, no way.
And we were like, oh my gosh, this movie is so much more like intense now that I'm older. we were like, oh my goodness, it's so different watching it now than it was like when we were kids. And I was like, how the heck were we just children watching this? So I was like, this is like nightmarish. And I was like, this is so scary. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like I for some reason as a kid, like I really liked Gale or something. I was like, yeah, he's like gonna fight and blah 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 and like fire. And then I watched it again, like as the adult that I am now, and I was like, bro, dude's messed up.
Oh, Gale was?
Yeah, I was like, yo, he literally was like, let's just like bomb them. But then when our forces go in to like do first aid and everything, and everyone thinks that it's like okay and safe, let's bomb them again. And I was like,
you were like, that's my man.
oh my god. That is pure evil. Wow. And then I was like, I understood the ending of like the entire series so much more when she made the decision to kill like the rebellion like president instead of killing the guy that was just like old and dying anyway. And they're like, well, the mob's gonna take care of him anyway, but if I'm like, if there's actually gonna be a change, I have to kill the person that allowed Gale to actually carry that like suggestion out, because that is what turns us into what we're fighting against. And I was like, bro, did not get that as a kid.
Dude, I'll be honest, those books, I didn't watch the movies, but the books went over my head. Like, not because I'm dumb, but I spaced out a lot, and I was like, I didn't really understand. Yeah. Like, after the first book, it kind of got boring, I won't lie. When they went back to the Hunger Games, so I was
deep.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, that's so much more interesting as an adult.
Okay, maybe I should reread them then.
Yeah.
I was not interested as a kid, which is weird. I was, like, bored, which is crazy.
I'm learning actually a lot of, like, me and my friend Emma, we were jokingly like, LOL, you remember that show Once Upon a Time? Like, that, like, old ABC show? We're like, what if we watched that? And then we turned it on, and then we were like, dude, it's low-key so dark. We were like, bro. Like, the first season, we were, like, sitting there, we're like, oh yeah, Prince Charming, and, like, the evil queen, and whatever. And we're like, dude, the evil queen straight up had a sex slave. Like, she had a literal man that was under her control and power, and the first thing she did was make him have sex with her. And I was like, no, oh my god.
In the first episode?
In the first season. It's like halfway through the first season. And I was like,
oh my god.
It's like the Huntsman guy. And I was like, oh my god.
That was like the most popular show on TV for the longest time.
I was like, that's so messed up. Bro, I cannot believe that was just like casually just in there. I was like, damn. And then even just like the whole idea of being like an adopted kid, and they're like, yeah, no, I grew up with this trauma of like nobody wanting me. So now, like, literally just in the first episode, she's like, no one wanted me. And now that I found out that like you're my parents, and I'm just like, why didn't you want me? And they're like, okay, but like we did want you. And she's like, I didn't ask for this responsibility. The heck? And I was like, I agree. Stop, why'd you call me out? And I was like, okay, interesting. Did not pick up on that when I was like 13 and 14 watching this.
Wait, is this show for kids or no?
Yeah, it's like a family show. And I was like,
it is?
Yeah. I was like, the effects are so dumb.
Oh, really?
Like, the green screen is horrible.
Oh, okay. That's sad, because was ABC owned by Disney back then? I can't remember if Disney was making money or not. Okay, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, because that's how they got all the rights to do all the fairy tale creatures and things. Like the Disney version of those things.
That's crazy.
And like Pinocchio,
green screen.
He's in the first season. Man's literally turns to wood, like he dies.
In the first
and we just watch him die.
You know what's funny is I read something. Do you remember, like, so the first How to Train Your Dragon, when that came out?
Oh my god, I love that movie so much.
I fucking love that movie. I remember when it came out, we were like 10 or something, like 11. We were young. And I remember reading a review, and the review was good, but I remember the writer saying, because in the movie he he's like, it's up to me, and so he goes into battle and he like loses his leg.
Yeah, he loses his leg.
Yeah, and he's like 12 or 13, whatever. And the reviewer was like, why are movies always putting kids in danger? Like, why do you need... And I was like, you know what? Because everything that I consumed as a kid was obviously about kids. And I had
Being in
never
danger,
thought about it. Yeah, I had never thought about it as a bad thing, because I think I just figured, like, as a kid, I was like, well, obviously, like, because, like, you have that sort of, like, not closed off mentality.
Yeah, we
but
had
you
that very,
feel
like,
that...
post-apocalyptic, like, everything is going to crap as a kid growing up, like, mindset, just narrative just ingrained in our head, shoved in our face.
More just, like, sort of like a main character type of feeling, like,
yeah,
when you're young, or like, I mean, just everyone kind of feels like they're the center, they're the main character, and so when you're young, you feel like, oh, this is how everyone is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you feel, and so, like, when it's a lot easier to relate to people of your age, because you're like, oh, that's as old as people get, and that's how much they know, and it's all the same as me, you know. And so I think I never thought, like, that it could be any other, that it should be any other type of age. Like, when I would read about kids, you know,
yeah, I was like, it totally makes sense that there's
murdered,
like a
Hunger Games getting murdered. Yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh, that would happen.
I was like,
because,
it totally
like,
makes sense that there's just
enough.
like a camp of kids that are theoretically ruling the government.
Yeah, because it's like you feel like, because that's all you know, especially
like, of
being
course
around
there's
other
children
kids.
being tested on that have to rebel and overpower the people testing on them because it's immoral. Of course we understand that at 13.
Yes, because you do. Honestly, on a level,
it's kind of crazy.
You don't understand what it's like to be older, so you don't say, oh, I'll just do this when I'm older. You say, oh, I understand,
you understand
it now. Yeah, so I'm going to imagine people my age.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So I think that it's always made sense. I don't know how this ties back to Turning Red. I don't know how we got to this conversation, but that's my opinion on that. Like,
well, on the same, like, conversation of not being able to, like, picture or, like, understand what it's like to be older, like, I've mentioned this to my siblings a lot, and this probably has a lot to do with why, but, like, whenever people ask me about my future, like, I don't know. I can't picture it.
Mm-hmm.
After high school, because everything stopped at high school in, like, every narrative that I ever read and experienced, like, there wasn't anything after that. I have no idea what happens. I can't, I have no expectations. I don't know anything. Like, I don't know at all. Like, I honestly, like, nothing. It's just a blank. Like,
isn't that kind of nice, though?
It's kind of crazy.
Kind of, like, you get to just make
like,
it
if
up.
I picture myself in the future, I just picture myself now. But I'm like, that's not what it's going to be like. Like, other people actually have a future image of themselves. I'm like, what? And then they get, like, disappointed when they're, like, not that image. And I'm like, oh, shoot, well, I didn't actually... I thought I was going to die when I turned 18.
No, I agree.
Like, I didn't think I was definitely... Like, that was the end of life. I cried when I turned 18. I was so upset.
Wait, what? Wait, what the fuck?
I was like, I don't want to be an adult. Everything I read about adulthood sounds like it sucks.
But, like, everything was the same, right? It's not like anything changed after you were 18, right?
Exactly. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I was thrown for a loop.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, how can you imagine when what part of your life was predictable, you know?
Yeah.
You kind of get, I get in that mode where I'm like, nothing in my life has ever been predictable. Nothing anyone ever said about my life happened, so there's no way that I can make a prediction, so I'm just not going to. And like, I don't even imagine it. It's like, there's no point. It's a waste of energy, honestly.
It really is.
It's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen, and that's it. So yeah.
I don't know, that probably is, like, also just, like, a remnant of the fact that I, like, was a military kid, so we moved around every, like, whenever they said we were gonna move, and so I just never had any expectations anyway. That's fun. We'll unpack that later in therapy. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I do feel like this has a lot to do with Turning Red, though, because when you're experiencing those things as a kid, it is, like, like, this is the worst thing that could happen to me. Like, when you actually believe, like, oh my gosh, no, this dude finding out that, like, I draw pictures of myself with, like, fictional characters, like, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. And oh my God, it's happening. It's like my life is over.
Yeah.
And this film totally captured that. Like, just that feeling of, like, yeah, we don't know what it's like to be older. Like, we're watching it from the perspective of like, the mom, where we have all this context, like, and then, like, kids are watching it like, no, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And, like, that's crazy. Like, we can't go back to that, which is insane. Like, there's such a different worldview for children. That's insane. But yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm literally a panda. And they're like, oh, it's her period. Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, the way that it played off, because she was like, I am literally a giant animal, and this is the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And they're like, I know your period it's gonna be kind of crazy, and, like, you're gonna feel all these things, which, like, they don't really talk about in movies often, like, ever. And so I kind of like that they were like, yes, no, I'm so sorry, like, this is gonna suck for a little bit, but, like, you'll get used to it and it'll be okay, kind of a thing. And I was like, yeah, no, that's definitely what it was like. Like, you know, like, you have that moment when you're like, oh, this is my first, like, period ever, and you're, like, in class, and you're just like, fuck, I just bled through my pants. And you're like,
that never happened to me.
That happened to me.
Oh, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the fuck do I do? There's just blood everywhere.
That's crazy.
You're like, it's just, like, in your seat. Like, a seat that, like, someone's gonna have to come in the next period and just sit down. And I was like, nope. Like, that's just horrible, you know? And I was like, they don't talk about that, but that's like or like, you just walking around with, like, a blood stain. And then, like I think my brother was talking about how he was talking to a girl, and it was last year, so it was a junior year of high school for him. And he was talking to a girl, and I think he, like, cut himself on something. And one of his friends, who's a girl, was like, oh, if you, like, wash your laundry and you, like, put all this stuff in it, it'll get the blood stain out. And then my brother, having absolutely just being, like, a boy because he doesn't experience periods, was just like, why do you know that? And she was like, I'm a girl. Like, blood stains are just part of our life. Like, yeah. And I was kind of excited that was just even mentioned in, like, a Disney movie that, like, millions of kids are just gonna be watching. Like, it's just gonna be on in the background for them, because, like, that's an experience that over half the population has that's never talked about.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. I don't know. No thoughts on that, really, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they were like, like, no, yeah, of course a little girl, when she's, like, if that's gonna happen, like, of course they're gonna think it's one of the normal bodily, like, pubescent, puberty, like, things that happens to you. It's, like, no, my mind's not gonna go to she turned into a red panda. Like, my brain's gonna be like, she's on her period and it's freaking her out because that's a normal thing that happens. And then they're like, oh, no, it's the other thing. Okay. let's regroup, repackage that. And I was like, that's so funny, like, to address for, like, a small child, like, especially a little girl. Like, yeah, if any little girl had turned into like, if any of these movies where people turn into other characters happen and it was, like, a 12-year-old girl, like, no, everyone would be like, well, at least every woman would be like, oh my god, is she okay? Oh, she's probably just experiencing this for the first time. And we're just like, it's okay. But, like, no. Like, that, I was like, that obviously is such a, like, female gaze, like, writing thing to include that, because it was so normal in the film for them to, like, that was, like, their first immediate thought. And I was like, yeah, duh. And then it wasn't. And we're like, oh, LOL. I just thought it was so like, that will probably stick with me forever. Just the fact that, like,
Really?
that happened
Wow.
so immediately, I think. Because, like no one had a second thought about it. They were like, yeah, no, that's what it is. And I was like, you never see that. Like, It's always like, oh shoot, this is happening kind of a thing. But they're like, oh yeah, it's probably just that. Like, I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I only remember, honestly, I always used to be curious about that. I'd be like, how is it possible that no one's getting their period? Like in like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I was like, how is she not getting her period? But then there was one book I read, and I don't remember who it was by, but they actually wrote it in that she gets her period, and it was so awkward and awful. I was like, oh, okay, that's why no one does it. And maybe that person was just like an awful writer. I don't know. But I remember being like, okay, I never need to see this again.
There was one movie
so uncomfortable
where they actually like addressed the fact that you need like pads and tampons in like a post-apocalyptic world. I think it was The Fifth Wave with that like Chloe girl from like Kick-Ass. She's like the main character, and she like goes to rob like, or like, well, I guess they weren't robbing it because aliens had taken over the earth, but she like goes to this like store to like gather supplies, and she has to steal like tampons and pads, and they like showed the tampon and pads like in the shot, and I was like, that's crazy. I've never seen that before. It was like the only other movie I ever saw after that addressed periods was, okay, actually that's a lie. There's two. She's the man when she shows the tampon up her nose because she doesn't want to be like, I'm a girl, I have periods, and pretends that she has a nosebleed, which is kind of hysterical. That was funny. When Channing Tatum just has them in his nose. And he's like, oh, sorry, I hope you don't mind that I borrowed these. I have a nosebleed. I was like, that's honestly kind of ingenious. Like, yeah, it's going to soak up a lot of blood. That's crazy. And it does fit perfectly up your nose. That's crazy. But then the only other time was in Jupiter Ascending, which also features Channing Tatum for some reason. When he, like, gets stabbed or something. And this scene stuck in my head because it was so horribly done. And frickin' Mila Kunis' character is like, don't worry, I got you. And she takes a maxi pad and sticks it to his, like, abs because that's where he got stabbed. And I was like, first of all, the sticky part of the maxi pad isn't the part that absorbs the blood. So how is this working? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, that's just a basic misunderstanding of how anything works. Huh?
You know what? Now that I'm thinking
like,
about
that pissed
it,
me
it's
off.
crazy that it's crazy that they're getting periods in like post-apocalyptic settings. Because now that I'm thinking about it, if I was in the fucking Hunger Games, I would probably be so stressed and also malnourished. I probably wouldn't get a period.
You probably just wouldn't have
now
a
that
period.
I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's crazy that if aliens took over, she still has a period. That would suck.
Bro. Could you imagine? You're like in the fucking Hunger Games and you're just like, fuck.
And you're on your period? Dude, forget about it. Oh. Hell no.
She's like, sponsor, can you give me some ibuprofen? Just drop some ibuprofen from the sky so that it can stop these period cramps. She's like, I'd rather die, actually.
Yeah, hell no.
She's like,
I can't even
no.
imagine.
Before I was in the Hunger Games, I just took my birth control pills and I skipped my period. Sponsor.
Can you imagine?
Can you just drop down my prescription?
What the fuck?
Oh my god, that's so funny.
That is so weird to think about. Yeah.
Right?
So that'd be weird. I don't
hysterical.
know. Sometimes maybe it's okay if they don't mention that because, yeah.
It's like weird. Going to the bathroom in movies, which we've talked about before.
It's honestly hit or miss.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's not bad and sometimes it's very bad. You're either good or you're not at it.
But I was like, for a coming of age movie, it totally makes sense for that to be a thing because that's when like
that's true.
Like literally the world looks at you different after you get your period and you're just like, this is like literally in the olden days, once a girl got her period, they were like, put a baby in her. Could you imagine being 13 and a mother?
They used to get their
like,
periods
isn't that
later.
Crazy? Like, that's insane.
I read that they used to get their periods
It was like
later
16,
because...
but still.
No, I think it was like in their 20s.
people didn't live to their 20s.
Oh, how old are we talking?
Like
I was thinking like 100 years ago.
Oh no, I'm talking about like way like before toilets.
Oh, actually, I don't know, because I
like
did
in
read
ancient
somewhere that
Greece, they were like, oh yeah, she's got her first blood.
God.
They were like, we can marry her off for money now.
I guess that makes sense.
And
well,
you're like,
yeah, that's also when they had like 14-year-old military leaders too.
That's
so
true.
I don't know.
Yeah, because they were
It was
they
a
were
different
lucky to
time
get to
back
20.
then.
It was just
Yeah.
insane. Ugh. And it's like, why is that still dictating our life? Like, why is it that like once I get my period, I now have to experience life completely different and with so much more responsibility? Like, dudes just get to chill until they're actually adults. Like, they don't have any responsibilities regarding their physical bodies.
Yeah,
until they decide to care about it.
Yeah, why do they have birth control only for people with uteruses?
Because men.
Yeah.
They literally made it, and they were like, oh, actually, there's, like, side effects where I get, like, headaches and stuff, so I don't want to do it. Like, there's literal articles about the fact that they have actually made male birth control pills, but the majority of men that actually tried it were like, oh, we don't like the side effects. And so they never actually continued to like, put it out, because the people that were deciding whether or not the drug would be able to, like, go on sale, like, on the shelves, were all men, and they were like, we don't want to experience these side effects.
Dude, I'm sorry, but birth control has killed people, so I don't want to hear it. Birth control gives people lifelong diseases, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. No,
That's
there's like
crazy.
a crazy documentary actually about, and it's very interesting. I think it's called Birth Strike.
Oh,
and
I'm
it totally talks about like how it talks about like birth control and like how it came up, and you know, a lot of those things. Yeah. I took a class last semester about like science and tech and
Ooh.
and like the implications it has if you don't have like representation that's actually doing the science and giving the results. Because yeah, you get birth control that is harmful to women that men don't even think about and don't have any qualms with selling, but when it comes to it being the same exact side effects for men, it's absolutely unimaginable. It's crazy.
Yeah. We're already at an hour, so what would you rate the movie?
Oh my god, no, there's so much more about this movie I want to talk about.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? Yeah, we're an hour already.
I don't know. Just like I just really liked it. I thought it was so cute. Like, I thought it was nice actually to have a moment where like she like is exposed and the immediate implication isn't like a negative one. Like, I think it was refreshing for it to be like, OMG, you're a giant red panda. And they're like, that's so cool. I want to be just like you. And she's like, oh, really? Like, I was so scared y'all were going to like try and kill me. like, oh, if I turned into a wolf, y'all would try to like murder me. Like, you would just kill me on the spot. Like, I would be shot. And it's just like, bro.
It was. Wait, where? What?
You know?
Where did you get that impression?
What do you mean? Like, werewolves?
The girl wanted her to be a wolf. I liked the friends.
The friends were so cute.
The designs were cool. The dynamic was cool.
The little one was so freaking funny.
The hyper
like,
one?
why was she so intense?
I know. But it's like we all knew somebody like
yeah,
her.
we all had that like friend group where one of them was just like oddly chill. One of them was like very much in your head and probably like, okay, not gonna lie, but the girl with the pigtails is definitely gay.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they are gay.
The flannel one?
Yeah. I was like, she's gay.
Oh, you already
She's gay
know.
for sure.
You already know. And the goth one.
Bro, I know.
Little goth GF. Yeah.
So funny. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, they were really cute. Really cool.
I think it was cool that they addressed like the fact that like, yes, you can still have your family connections, but then you can also have like your like grounding friend group. Because for her, like, the friend group was the thing that like centered her and calmed her down, even though like everyone would be like, oh, your family or like your mom, and she was like, it's not my mom. Like she lied to her mom actually about it and was like, yeah, no, I totally think of you, it's what keeps me calm. And she's like, actually I think of my friends, because my friends understand me and don't judge me. They don't like do things like that. And I was like, that's like a really relatable experience as well, because at some point in your life there is a time when you just can't understand your mother as a daughter. You're like, I just don't get it. Like, why are you like this to me, if that makes sense? And so I thought it was cool that they featured that. And then
I mean, the friends were much more forgiving than the mom. Like, even the mean guy, and like when all the friends, when she kind of betrays them and is like, oh, they made me do all this shit, like they forgive her right away. But the mom is like, bro, unrelenting.
That broke my heart.
Anger, so
that scene, and she's like, my friends did it, because she knew her mom was gonna blame the friends. I was like, oh my god. Broke my heart.
Yeah. There was hilariously, like, maybe cut this out, but I just remember I watched the Friends reunion thing with my mom, even though I've never seen Friends. But they talked about how the pitch for the show was that it's about the time in your life when your friends are your family. And I think that was kind of like, I always think about that now, because I'm like, you know what, that's really true. And I think that I didn't know that was such a universal experience. It's like there's moments in people's lives where their friends are kind of like their family.
Yeah.
And this is like kind of one of those.
Like, for
because
me,
the friends had more screen time than the dad.
Dude, yeah. And I was like, that was like super relatable for me, even though like I wouldn't say I really even had like super strong friend groups. Like I would say like my siblings were more like my friends. So like for me it was like super weird to think that people were like, I can't talk to my parents about this, I'm gonna go over to so and so's house, and like that was unfathomable to me.
Wow.
Like I very much felt like the younger daughter. I was like, yeah, no, I'm super close to my mom and my dad, and like I love them and everything, but also like terrified at the same time. And like, oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble. And I was like, that's so real. Like I was like, no, I can't just like go over to my friend's house. Like, no, my friends can't come over. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is separate. You keep these are two different things. Like I was so shocked when I like went to high school and like people were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go over to my house after class, and I was like, what? Why? Yeah, we're just gonna like hang out. I was like, your parents just like let you get in someone else's car and just like go hang out at the mall? I was like, my parents don't want to do that.
Wait, how old were you when that was happening?
That was like high school. Like I was not allowed, like if people were driving, like it was a big deal for me for prom for my parents to have let me like go out with my friends, in the fact that like one of them was driving and it wasn't like an adult.
Okay, actually, yeah, that's true. My mom had a rule where none of my friends could drive me anywhere.
Yeah, like I was like, why? Isn't this super inconvenient for you? It's so funny too, because like they totally know how inconvenient that is. Like now, like my brother would go everywhere with his friends, and I was like, bro, I wasn't even allowed to leave the house. Like I wasn't allowed to go out to the mall unless they had met the other kid's parents. Like, you're joking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's eldest daughter treatment. Oh.
Yeah. I was like, the fact that her mom didn't like her best friend, and I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah. Okay, that's
she's
a little
like, she's
too
a bad
real.
influence, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's a little too real.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, honestly, I didn't think that this movie was gonna make me remember so much of my childhood, but like, because it's like I don't ever think about it. Like nothing's ever centered around actual like growing up adolescence of like a woman and like a female kid, like actually being like a preteen. And so it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about like that experience or like what that felt like. Like now I'm thinking about it, and I absolutely had never given a second thought to it before.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about the fact that the mother's panda was so big?
I know. She has a lot of anger.
I was like, girl, why is she so big? The dad's just like, I told you she was big. And they're like, what the frick? She's like
so
gonna
funny.
smash this building. I was like, I thought the little girl was a big panda. I was like, she's like giant. She's like hopping over like buildings and like using her like poof to like soften her fall. And then the mom transforms and I was like, what the heck is this? Why is she so big?
It was honestly crazy that they all left their pandas behind, except for her. I honestly was
Yeah.
expecting a Disney sort of ending where they're like, you changed our minds, we're gonna keep it. But none of them did. And I was like, whoa.
It was
that's
so
crazy.
interesting that even like the mom, like even up until that last minute, like after she like is walked to the portal by her own daughter and told that like it's okay, she like leaves her panda, but then she still asks her daughter to leave the panda. And I was like, bro.
That was crazy. That one, honestly, because people said Encanto was about like generational trauma, whatever. This one was a lot less on the nose and more about like paving your own way and like breaking the family curse. But then in this case, she keeps it, you know, and she kind of reappropriates it not as a curse. But I was like, this one is so much more about like, you know, so the much matriarchal more line of
very well packaged, I would say.
Yeah, so much more. I don't know how to describe it.
It's just more thorough. Like it was thought through all the way. So I feel like Encanto, like they just kind of were like they kind of stopped after. Like they were like, oh yeah, the powers, and then they were like, okay, we have these because like our grandma, and then our grandma like witnessed all these horrible things, so that's why she's like this, and then everyone accepted it, and then Mirabelle was like, why though? And then they just like stopped and they were just like, all right, end of movie. I was like, wait, so we're not gonna talk about it still?
The fact that, I'm sorry, I was done with Encanto when that girl was like, oh, I knew he was here the whole time, goodbye. Why then?
She's like, yeah, I hear him in the walls. I was like, girl, that is rude. You knew that man was sitting there just sobbing, wanting to be a part of the family, and you just let him just think that everyone hated him. Oh, wow.
Like, that's the plot holes I'm talking about. And also, it was so awkward and uncalled for, like that one song where that girl is talking about, like, needing to be strong. Because I was like, it was so random. Like,
yeah, it came out of nowhere. And I was like, that honestly is, like, like, they could have dived into that, like, and it would have been so great if they had given that, like, way more screen time, you know, and, like, thought and effort in the story, and then it was just, like, one time. And even like the other sister, and they're like, she's perfect, and she's like, I don't want to be perfect. And it was like, and then like even then, like, she didn't really just not perfect, she was like, I'm gonna make ugly things that are still beautiful. And we were like, is that different? She's like, I made a cactus instead of a flower. And I was like, I mean, wow, you're close, you're getting there. That is a step. That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it was just so cluttered and messy.
She's like, I want to see what I can do. And I was like, if you wanted to see the older daughter's, like, transformation, just watch Frozen.
We'll get to Frozen.
Don't feel. She was like, I have to be perfect. And I was like, let it go.
Oh my god, goodbye. Wait, didn't they make that reference? I think they reference
probably
at some point.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And, like, I'm not gonna lie, they really only had, like, that one good song.
Which one?
The Bruno song. Like, that song went hard, but every other song was just kind of, like, forgettable.
Yeah. It was. I remember reading a review after that movie that said, like, Lin-Manuel Miranda needs to take a break because it was, like, not his best work.
Yeah, I know. I was like, give the man a break, dude. Like, he's honestly, that man's carrying a lot of pressure. I was like, it kind of sucks that like he did like so well, and now everyone expects him to be like the pinnacle of like Latinx like representation. And we're like, you know, like it's kind of like being like, oh yeah, Denzel Washington is like the pinnacle of like he's the one black man. Like why do we do this? Please stop. Oh, I
Dude,
made Wonder
know.
Woman. I am a woman that directed that movie, and now I am in charge of the female agenda. Like, what? Why do we put so much pressure on these people? And I can't even blame like just society, because I feel like when we watch these movies as people of color, like we put even more pressure on it to be better than normal, because we have to put that pressure on ourselves in order to just like live. And it's like, I guess we don't have to do that. But yeah, it's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty rough regardless. I feel like these past couple movies I've been pretty, not Coda, but the ones before, I've been pretty like scathing, even though those aren't. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm tough to please. I have no bias.
I'll be honest, I can't even remember what we reviewed lately.
The last one I remember is Lost Daughter.
Yeah, and I was like, we did The Lost Daughter.
That one.
What the heck did we do before that?
I don't remember. Oh, I just hit my head. Ow.
Ugh, yeah, whatever.
Okay, what would you rate the movie? Do you have anything else you want to say?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I liked it. I would definitely recommend it to people, and I would definitely watch it again.
Amazing.
Shout out to the boy band that is also part of Saving the Mother. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so glad that scene happened. Like, just for how funny it was. I was like, please tell me they're gonna get the boy band to sing their song so that the mom can turn back into a human. I was like, please tell me they're gonna do it. And then they did, and I was like, yes.
I love them. They're
I was
so cute.
happy. I was like, thank you so much for giving this to me. I loved
fine.
it. I like that there were 5 of them, but their name was like having to do with the number 4, and they just like never talked about it. And I was like, that's so funny.
It's like 5 seconds of summer, you know. There's only 4 of them. But there's 5 seconds. You know, that's just a boy band thing.
Oh, that's so funny. I loved that. I was like, yeah, no, this is very much the vibe of like my childhood. I loved it. Yeah, I'd probably give it like an 8. 8 or 9?
I'd probably give it like 7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a good one.
Because it was just fun, yeah.
Yeah,
Even though it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, it was still really enjoyable.
Or
would recommend it.
Like the little boy.
Yeah.
Like the boy that was like blackmailing her into like doing his birthday party. They all find out that he also loves the boy band, and then he just becomes a part of the friend group. And I was like, that really is how our relationships worked as kids. We were like, oh, you like the same thing too? I was just
about to say that.
I know you pantsed me last year, but also you like this band too. Like, oh my god, we have to be best friends. So I was like, that's so funny. We really did operate like that.
Yeah, literally anyone was just friends with anybody. So yeah, that was like so perfect.
Ugh, great.
They were so quick to forgive. It was so nice. It was wholesome.
But also, fun fact about the director, she just was promoted to like an executive position of like animation Pixar.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and she's the one that did that Bow short film.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Any recommendations?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, just because in general, just watch it.
Yeah, in general, just watch it. But yeah, like it also kind of deals with that like mother-daughter like pressure, intergenerational like trauma type thing as well, in a much more nuanced way than Encanto.
Yeah. Don't watch Encanto. That's my recommendation.
No, watch Encanto so that we can have things better than Encanto.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You have to know your enemies. Yeah.
Know your enemies. We still live in a capitalistic world.
Yeah.
Weaponize the capitalism.
Especially Disney capitalism.
Girl boss. I'm trying to think of other movies.
That's all I have to say.
Like, the only other movie I can think of that really, like, kind of deals with, like, mother-daughter relationship is Lady Bird.
That's true. Do you know any like animated movies?
Of like mother-daughter relationships?
I guess so.
Not really.
Like the same
the mom's
vibe.
always fucking dead. Brave.
That's true.
You can
Disney
watch
movies
Brave.
especially.
You can watch Brave.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That, yeah. LOL.
That's true.
There's only now 2 Disney movies where the mother isn't dead. Just kidding. I don't think Moana's
That's
mom was
true.
dead. She just like wasn't in the movie.
That's fucked up though. She might as well be.
Yeah, like R.I.P.
Yeah.
Anyway,
One of its kind. Yeah, we are in an era with a lot of unique movies. So
I think it's
getting
awesome,
harder and
yeah.
harder to be like, yeah, they stand alone for sure.
mm-hmm. I'm excited because over the summer we're going to talk more about animated movies and Disney movies and do a little bit more of a deep dive into this film that's so accessible and digestible for people. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And thanks for listening to this podcast and this episode, as long as it might be. We really enjoyed talking about it and hope that you enjoy it too. You can follow us on Instagram at Feminine War Podcast and TikTok. Go ahead and DM us any questions or movie recommendations. We love interacting with you guys. Thank you so much. And that's it for today. Bye.
Bye.